Well, good morning. Can you hear me in the back row there? Thank you. My name is Dan Schuster, and I'm the celebrant for today's service, and I'm honored to be here. I had the opportunity to talk to Terry and learn a little bit about Pat and her life, and it's a privilege for me to be here to help tell her story. That's really what we want to do today, is take some time to remember a life that was, sounds like it was well lived, and that she was well loved. So how we'll do that is I'll share some of the things that Terry told me during our conversation. He's going to talk a little bit, and following that, if you wish to, you'll be given an opportunity to speak if you so desire. And they've chosen some music that is meaningful to them, so we'll have some music sprinkled throughout the service. And then at the end of the service, I'll have some words from a Christian perspective about why this isn't a hopeless day. It's a hopeful day if you have faith. So with music and with memories and a brief meditation, that's how the service will happen today. But before I go any further, on behalf of the family, thank you. Thank you for being here today. It is, on a day like this and a day of loss and kind of sadness, it is good to be surrounded by family and friends. It really helps get you through a difficult time. So you're here today. I hope that you'll be there tomorrow, next week, next month, and continue to keep your family in thoughts and prayers as they navigate the path of grief that they will travel over the next weeks and months. So, but it is good that you're here. So once again, thank you so much. So with that said, let us play our first song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Ooh.
I'll begin by reading Patricia's obituary. She was born on October 13th, 1939. She was 84 of St. Paul when she passed away on December 4th. She was preceded in death by her husband Alvin and a son Mark and a brother Jack. And she's survived by her children Daryl with Patty, Terry, John, and Kim, 8 grandchildren, many great-grandchildren, and a brother Bob and a daughter-in-law Patty. She was born and raised in St. Paul. She was a kind of a Rice Street area person. She attended the old Washington High School. She was blessed to have 5 children in her life. Worked at the University of Minnesota for many years in the cafeteria. Growing up, Terry told me that mom was sort of the neighborhood mom. All kids were welcome at the house and enjoyed being with her, and she enjoyed that. She liked gardening. She loved cats. Siamese was her preferred brand of cat, but she also taken strays. She just had an affection for cats. She was able to travel with family. There was an Alaska cruise with John. Loved spending time at the cabin up north in the Cass Lake area. And she was blessed to take a 30-day trip with the family not too long ago. And precious memories now for all of you, I'm sure. Because for her, I think it sounded like spending time with her family is what gave her the greatest joy in her life. For the last 6 months or so, her health had become increasingly fragile, and she was called to her forever home on December 4th. So that's just kind of a biographical overview. Now we'll have Terry come forward and speak.
Thank you all for coming. She was born in October of '39. And girls were treated differently than boys. She was our social butterfly, meaning she liked to party, and she held many parties at her home. She loved that little girl too. Kids in the neighborhood would call her mom. Some would stay at her house quite a bit. We would play kick the can, baseball, football, many other things right outside the house. We had a nice neighbor too. He'd always call the cops. Every time we were out there, if he saw us playing, the cops would be there within a half hour or so. Part of our family was the camps. We integrated with them over the years. They had 5 children. My mom had 5 children. We had 3 of the same ages, Greg and Mark, Paul and John, and Corrine and myself. So at times we wondered who was Mom's favorite child. We all realized it wasn't none of us. It was somebody else. And he's here today. And because of that, Paul, you were her favorite. Look what's inside. So you got your last peanut butter balls. If everybody attends the celebration, we'll have peanut butter balls for everybody there too. We were able to make about 600 of them. She, in a year, would make over 2,000 of them. it took us 3 people, 2 4-hour days to make those 600. So it's a long process. They're well worth it, right, Paul? Yep. So Aliana and a friend of mine, Val DeFore, we all made the peanut butter balls the other day. So Paul will be the tester to say whether or not they pass. We hope they do. We followed her directions to a T. She liked gardening. If you ever looked at her backyard, she would have a lot of flowers and things, and alongside the driveway, she'd fill things up, and also in the front of the house. Cooking, she always liked cooking, making treats and things like that. And that was one of the sad parts. When she got older, she forgot how to cook. She had 5 kids, and she always referred to them as her special people. Each one of them have done many things for her over the years. We had cats, Siamese. She raised them. There was always a joke that Kim went to college by selling cats. So we always said there was prostitution for her to go to school. We had many, many cats. We had some dogs too, fish, and if you look at one of the photos out there, you'll even find a fox. We had a fox from Como Zoo that we took care of one summer, and the fox got along with the dogs and the cats and everything, so that was kind of cool. After my dad's death in 2001, she started living by herself. But she did get to do a lot of traveling. That's one of the things that she wanted to do with her husband, but was unable to do that. Mark and his family went to South Dakota with her, spent some time out there. She, if you look at her pictures when she's traveling, she's got the biggest smile that you could ever see out there. Daryl went to Florida with her. Daryl was our handyman. We ever needed something done, we'd call Daryl. Paul knows that. He was the handyman of the neighborhood, I think. Still is. He wants to give it up though, so watch out. John, he went to Mexico with her, and they had an all-inclusive resort. She liked that too. She had a good picture. I think we had one out there of her on the boat. Kim, she went to Arizona with her and then took her up to Alaska. But she also traveled with my daughter, Beth, to Alaska and went to Denali Park. And Kim was working there, so they got to visit her up there. In 2003, I went up to a cabin on the Mississippi up in Cass Lake area. I brought my family, Brandon and Nicole, with us, and we had a great time fishing. It was Oak Haven Resort, and they were building a cabin right next to the cabin that we had bought. And we said, one day we might go and rent that cabin. It was their largest cabin that they had on the resort. Had 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, over 2,000 square feet. So in 2010, we started going up there. We went up there for about 6 years. She went up there with us for about half of that time. We had some stories up there. Alex and his hook in his leg. And the theme up there, it turned out that lots of people got hooks stuck in them. I did too. Had to go to the doctor and get that out. The deal was, Beth, who got it on your side? Jacob, that's right. Jacob, and there was a couple other people. One, Marco got a hook, and we were able to take that out without the doctor. So hooks were a theme up there, and Alex, you started. But we caught a lot of fish up there and enjoyed that. She enjoyed watching everybody too. In 2018, I decided we should take a trip around the country. So I asked Jacob and Joey if they wanted to come along with us, got permission from their mother, and she okayed it, and we went on a 30-day trip around the United States. Not one time did those boys say, when are we going home? They were really interested in seeing everything that we saw. We went from our home all the way to Boston, down the coast. Then we went through Florida, visited some people that we knew down there. And then finally, Jacob said, Grandpa, we got 1 week before we have to go home. We're only halfway. And I said, yes, the East Coast, there's a lot of stops that you can see a lot of different things. We saw the new towers out there. We saw the Niagara Falls. We went to the sporting places. The boys wanted to see where they played hockey and things like that. So we visited all those places. We went to the Navy shipyard in Norfolk where I was stationed. We didn't get to see the 2 ships I was on. I think they both were canned already. So they weren't available to see, but they did get to see one of the largest naval bases in the country. Then, like I said, we were in Texas and we were halfway. And I said, the West Coast, there's not as much as there is on the East Coast. So I said, I don't believe we'll get to the West Coast, but we'll get as far as, I think, Vegas, and then we'll start heading home. We went to the Grand Canyon. We saw the sights out there are just unbelievable. And then we went to the petrified forest and things like that. We went to Yellowstone. The night before we got there, or the night we got there, it was about 100 degrees out. Well, we didn't register for any hotel rooms the entire trip. There was no schedule that we had to be somewhere, so wherever we found a hotel. The only place we had trouble with is in Washington, D.C. And there's a little story on that Washington, D.C. trip. We parked 6 blocks from the Smithsonian Institute, and I said, stay here, I'll go get the car. 6 blocks, I thought I could do it very fast. 2 hours later, I picked her up. What had happened was I was going to turn on by the White House, and all of a sudden, there were squad cars all over the place. And they didn't allow you to turn left. They made me turn right. And by turning right, it took me 2 hours to get back to them. They were still sitting there waiting for me, but that was kind of a funny story. We said we should have brought her tag for handicap parking, and we would have probably had situations where we could have parked a lot closer. So we had a lot of good memories out there. And so we started in Yellowstone. Like I said, it was 100 degrees. We couldn't find a room. The cheapest room was about $208. And if anybody knows me, that's too high. I was staying in hotel rooms that were typically right around $50, and you could get them at a discount because there's discount books all over the place. But Yellowstone was a different story. I made the decision we'll just sleep in the car. So we slept in the car that night. In the morning, it was 44 degrees out there. So from 100 and down to 44, that was a large drop. But we did get to get through Yellowstone and see all the glaciers, or the Old Faithful and things like that. She loved that. So we got home and decided the next year we would go on a 2-week trip out to the West Coast. So we headed out to the West Coast. She liked eagles. There's an eagle place down in southern Minnesota, a raptor center, and we stopped in there. She and her husband, Al, have a plaque up there. They had made donations to that center. And so we went down there. Our first night on the road, we hit a deer. Deers do damage to your vehicles when you hit them. That was the only deer I've ever hit, and I saw him coming, and we both looked at each other, and I was like, slam on the brakes. And I just nicked him on the far side of the car. Did some damage, got out, said, we'll continue on. We can live with that. I couldn't open my door all the way, but, we'll live with it. Then I've been going down to Honduras for about 15 years, and she's always interested in that place. And I always said, it'd be really rough on you if you went. So I always didn't look at taking her down there. And then in 2022, I decided, let's go down. We went down for 5 weeks. I told her it's going to be tough, and it was, because they have roads down there that just are not like ours. We traveled from the airport 154 miles, and it took you either 6 to 10 hours to get there. So it's not 60 miles an hour down there at all. So it's a long drive, and it's a tough drive. Even for myself, going down there, it was tough. But the people down there really enjoyed her being down there, and she enjoyed them too. It happened to be the celebration of their nation when we were down there, and they had different events going on. And one of Jacob's and Joey's cousins won as representing their city. So she won the award for that. And they basically dressed in the customary clothing that they had back then. Her last trip that her and I went on, we went out to see in Stillwater the new bridge. She hadn't seen that yet. Crossed into Wisconsin. She really liked that bridge. And I said, what do we do from here? She likes to travel a little bit yet. So I decided, well, don't know if I'm going to find him, but I know where he lives up there, kind of. I know what lake he's on. So we drove up to see Paul. I get him on the phone. I say, hey, you home? He says, yeah, why? I'm close, but I'm not sure exactly where you're at. So I told him where I was at, and he said, oh man, you're really close. So just turn around and come back about less than a mile, I think it was. She had never seen his cabin. Now it's considered his house. So we went to his house. She loved it. She went in there and really, really liked his house, and they reminisced for a while. They gave me a lot of shit, but I took it. So, like I said, camps were a big part of our family over the years. And bottom line is, we knew she loved somebody, but it was none of us kids. She loved us, but not to the level that she loved Paul. Paul was her favorite, and that's why he got the bag saying, my favorite guy. Rest in peace, Ma, and say hi to everybody up there. We'll miss you, and we love you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a few words they'd like to speak? Okay.
You know, when I went to college, one of the very first things they teach you is the KISS method, which is keep it simple, stupid. So I'll keep it really simple and short. But I was a 4-year-old boy, and I was bouncing a tennis ball against the wall, and I would do that all day, and this kid would jog by and wave and just keep going. And then next day, he'd come by, wave, and then go into the store, and then he'd go and go. And he did this for a while, and at some point in time, we must have interacted, and I asked him where he lived. And I was 4 years old, and so I went and knocked on their door, and nobody ever answered. But somehow we got together. But from that moment on, I was part of the Turnbull family, and I was their favorite. First of all, with this head, she didn't have to give me birth. And she never had to clothe me. She never had to feed me. She never had to house me. She sent me home, and she never sent me home when she got sick of me, because I really don't think she ever got sick of me. Al would send me home from time to time. But the Turnbulls and the Maggots are my family. I posted today on Facebook about memories of Pat, and you say your second mother, and she wasn't my second mother. I had a wonderful mother, and I wasn't looking for anybody else, but my mother was 1A and she was 1B. She was right there, and she was my calm. I had a little bit of a disruptive house because my brother, but I'd run to their house and maybe not go back for a little while, you know, but she was my calm in the storm, and I never saw Pat mad. I never saw her angry, and she did love me, and I loved her. And when Terry came up to visit, we laughed and we picked on Terry a whole bunch. But when she went to leave, I reached over and I buckled her seatbelt in, and I told her I loved her, and I went to kiss her on the cheek, and she turned around and we kissed right on the lips. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and she went, and she told Lisa, we just kissed. And I said, that was fine. I've been waiting 60 years for that. But that was 58 of my 62 years have been involved with the Turnbulls and Maggots, and I know that at any point in time they could call me, I could call them. Mark went into the Army on the buddy system with my brother in '73, and John and I were born just 5 days apart. So anytime John got in trouble, Pat would ask, where was Paul? He's the one that pushed me, or where was Paul? He broke my glasses, where was Paul? You know, and it was funny. But the memories, you can't buy those, you can't build those. She was my mom. She was in the family as they're my brothers, and Kim's my sister, and forever. But I'll keep it there. But I want to thank you guys for sharing Mom with me, and Mom for sharing you guys with me, and you've meant the world to me and beyond that. But thank you, and rest in peace, Pat.
Thank you. So what we'll do now is we'll kind of shift gears and we'll play our next song. It's called Lean on Me.
So brother when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Call me if you need a friend. Call me, if you need a friend. If you ever need a friend, call me. 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 If you need a friend, call me. 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 Call me.
In listening to the two speakers today, that it struck me that song we just heard, "Lean on Me," was just so appropriate. She was definitely the shoulder that you relied on to kind of get you through times. You'll be missing her. It's a tough time of year to lose somebody that you love. Holiday grief is more real, it seems, than regular grief. So if you're out of sorts, if you're kind of emotional and if tears come easily, that's grief. And grief is the price you pay for love. The thing that we need to realize, though, is that death takes the physical body, but it can't take your memories. And your memories, right now, they probably tend to be a little bit painful because of the loss you've suffered, but eventually, those memories will be the sweetest visitors your mind can have. When you think of Pat, you'll have a smile on your face instead of a tear in your eye. I love this reading that it ran across. It's called "We Remember Them." And it says this: "In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, you will remember her. In the opening of the buds and the warmth of summer, you will remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, you will remember her. In the beginning of the year and as it's ending, you'll remember her, because as long as you live, they too shall live, for now they are part of us as you remember her." When I was talking to Terry also, I kind of formulated this idea, and I think I heard it reiterated during the speakers, is that Pat was essentially a very kind person. And in a world that is in short supply of kindness, I think we should all take a part of her with us, her kindness. Reminded me of a story that ran across in the paper earlier this year, and it was a letter to the editor, and it was a gentleman reliving a day from his past, and it stuck with him all those years, and I will read it in his voice. And he said this: I remember Kathy Plath. It was the first day of kindergarten, and I remember seeing her cry as the morning session ended when it was time to go home. I should preface this that this was some time ago when many of us walked to school. Sometime we were only in kindergarten or first grade, and we walked to school and walked home. That was just how things happened back then. So anyway, she was crying, and he says, the gentleman said, I approached her and asked her what was wrong, and she said through her sniffles and tears, she said she couldn't remember her way home. She had walked to school, but she had forgot her address, and she couldn't remember how to get there. So I told her to come home with me because my mom will get you home. And Mom didn't disappoint. She knew exactly what to do. She called the school, got the address and phone number, and we got Kathy home. Something sounded like something Pat would do. But anyway, what I really liked about this is the final paragraph. He said that maybe this day a little more kindness is what is most needed. Maybe the joy in life is found when you and I reach out, show some care and concern, and in hand, we walk each other home. I think intuitively that Pat did that in her life, that she took people by hand and they helped them to get them home in a variety of ways. I hope that your faith is a comfort for you today to get you through this difficult time, because there is a central truth that might help you. Our faith tells us that God has the last word on death, and he will tell you that she has been dismissed from this hospital we call Earth. You're going to miss Pat like crazy. But remember, she has no pain, she has no doubts, and she is experiencing perfect peace. Always remember that God understands, because He knows the sorrow of the grave, because after all, He buried His Son. But He also knows the power of the resurrection. Believe in Him, and you too will know that power, and that will help you deal with your loss. It allows you to believe this, that we believe that there's a hello after today's goodbye. We believe that there's a blessed reunion promised in time. We believe that you will see her again, that you will be with her again, that you will laugh and talk like before, but be at peace evermore in this beautiful, wonderful hello after today's goodbye. And I think she would have a message for you today. And she would tell you this: when I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room, because why cry for a soul that's been set free? Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey you all must take, and we each must go alone. It's all part of the master plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know. Laugh at all the things we used to do. Miss me, but let me go. And our final song now is... we will play our final song, please.
I still see you in the places we would go, like your face is painted on the walls. I've been trying to forget all the moments that we spent, 'cause now I do it on my own. Oh, you and I were like this summer, but now it's winter here on my own. If I would've known that you wouldn't be here anymore, I would've made the moments last a little longer. 'Cause now I'm alone, and you're just a memory in my mind. I would've given anything to say goodbye. If I would've known, if I would've known, oh, I remember how we would laugh all the time, but now you're not around, and I'm just trying to find something else to fill the empty spaces you left behind. But nothing ever seems to work. I've been thinking about moments last a little longer. 'Cause now I'm alone, and you're just a memory in my mind. I would have given anything to say goodbye. If I would have known, if I would have known,
I'll close the service now with a blessing for you, and then following that blessing, the funeral director will come with a word of instruction on what's going to happen next. So my prayer for you is this. My prayer is that the Lord will be with you, that he will be above you to watch over you, that he will be ahead of you to lead you, behind you to encourage you, and beside you to befriend you, but most of all, that he will be within you to grant you his peace.